And thank you for joining us for this NBC4 digital special. I'm Kerry Charles. The May 2023 primary, it will be here before we know it. For Columbus voters, those ballots will look very different. That's because for the first time in more than 100 years, the structure of the Columbus City Council, it is changing. So go ahead and take a look at this map. We want to show you this. It shows the new council residential districts. Columbus, have you heard, will be divided into 9 districts. That means residents, you will have neighborhood representation. It also means the number of council members will jump from 7 to 9. So tonight we are going to walk you through all of the changes. I'm joined by council member Emmanuel Remy and Nia Walters, who is the in-house counsel for Columbus City Council. She also led the process of the council residential districting commission. So glad to have you both with us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
This is so important, right?
It is.
A lot of people asking so many questions about this. Now I want to start with you because you've been there from the very beginning working through this process. Tell me about that process and how we got to this point.
So in 2018, there was an issue put before the voters at the May primary, and during that time, voters voted overwhelmingly in favor of adding 2 seats to council, as well as dividing the city into 9 council districts. And so from that point, we moved towards setting a commission of independently citizen-led commission of 5 people, and they started that work in January. And then they went all the way through December, ultimately presenting council with 3 maps to choose from, and then they chose a map, and then we're here in 2023 and districts are coming and we're excited. Yeah,
moving forward for sure. Talk about the current council members, where they are located and which districts don't have that representation yet.
So currently we don't have any council members in districts 1, 2, and 6. In District 3 we have council member Rob Dorans. In District 4 we have council member Emmanuel Remy. In District 5 we have council member Nick Bankston. In District 7 we have council member Shayla Favor. In District 8 we have council member Lourdes Barroso de Padilla. And in District 9, we have Council President Shannon Hardin.
So, Councilmember Remy, since voting will be at large, as we've seen that process play out, what does this new system mean for voters in the district?
It means that they're going to have somebody living near them that they can call first. And so that was the whole point. As Nia said, in 2018, it was overwhelmingly passed by 76% of the voters. Voters said, hey, we want people living near us to represent us. But this is a unique system. It's a little bit different, and that each member will be voted on at large. So everybody has a say in who represents them in total. But they'll have somebody they know they can call that will understand where the potholes are in their neighborhood.
But I think there's some concern, and both of you walk me through, help me understand this, because if I live in District 1, I can still vote on District 9. Some people say that just doesn't make sense. Give us some clarity. Walk us through this.
I mean, I think that it allows for city representation citywide. So when you live in neighborhoods, you know where the potholes are, you know where the street lights are out, you know all the intimacies of your district. And so this will give you someone in your neighborhood that you can reach out to and say, hey, I have this issue. I want to talk to you about that. They still will have access to all 9 council members and be able to approach council to say, hey, I have this issue at any member. So I think it just creates overall representation still, but you have that neighborhood friend to reach out to and say, hey, I'm having this issue in our neighborhood. And they're probably aware because they live there.
I think the voters also wanted to avoid horse trading. So, Kerry, if you or I were on council and you lived in one part of the city and I lived in the other, hey, Kerry, I'll vote for your thing, and you vote for mine, scratch my back, that sort of thing, which happens in some of the bigger cities. We've had this at-large system in Columbus for over 100 years. Now we're going to have a hybrid system, and I think it'll still give people the opportunity to be represented by 9 individuals, but it'll also, again, be somebody that'll be in their neighborhood, and the voters overwhelmingly chose this.
I've worked in a number of markets, and every market has had some type of ward system, a district representation, and so I'm familiar with people voting in their district on their representatives. I was just in Atlanta several years ago, and that was a thing where voters in one district had to go back to the polls. I think there's still some confusion, and all you all talked about it just a moment ago, but getting people to understand the power and the benefit of being able to live in one district and vote on another.
Again, I think people having the opportunity to be represented by 9 individuals in those cities that you're talking about, many times they're either all district or there's some form of it. There's at-large and districts. This is unique. I mean, there's only a couple of other cities in the United States that has this type of representation that we're talking about here. But again, it does allow for you as an individual resident to have 9 people to call, but you know where to start, because you're going to have your district representative to start with.
So this is part of the city's charter, right?
Yes.
City Council charter moving forward. I'm asking that because I think some people might say, well, can we revisit it, revise this in the future? What do you say to those folks, Naya?
So the charter can always be revised. We've done it via ballot issue. More recently this year, we did the Charter Review Commission, which took up a number of issues. It's a citizen independent-led commission as well. And they kind of put forth a report that allows things to go on the ballot. But there's always room for changes for this system. This system will happen every 10 years with the census data. So it'll be similar to the redistricting effort at the state in terms of it happens every 10 years in alignment with that.
But you also say give it a chance.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. And this was a very exhaustive public engagement process. There was a Charter Review Commission that actually came up with this recommendation. And then again, it got put on the ballot. 76% of the voters voted for it. And so, you know, the people of Columbus said, hey, this is what we want to try. We're going to give it a shot. If it doesn't work out, obviously, as we said, we can make changes.
Well, as mentioned, hundreds of communities throughout the country use the same or similar model. Some towns or cities refer to their districts as wards, maybe boroughs. Well, we wanted to know how much Columbus residents know about our new districts. We asked NBC4's Sierra Johnson to hit the streets.
Changes are coming to the way Columbus residents are represented by members of City Council. And for many we spoke with, the changes are coming as a bit of a surprise.
I guess kind of surprised I didn't know anything about it.
Lynn Raymond lives on the north side of the city, and we found her spending the afternoon with her granddaughter. News that after nearly a century of representation at large will soon be a thing of the past, well, it caught her by surprise.
No, I just thought they all represented the whole city, you know, each one, regardless of the district.
After a short refresher and a glance at the new map, Lynn had reached her conclusions on the new concept.
Yeah. You know, looking at it's not a bad idea to represent, you know, then people get represented by where they are. You know, people in the north have different issues than people in the south, and so they'll have someone representing each one.
For Thelma Everhart, she tells us the change sounded familiar, but she wasn't sure when the new districts would begin or where her home in Schiller Park falls on the newly developed districts. She says she's willing to give it a try.
You can't really compare it until time passes to see how things go. I mean, that's the way I see it.
Everhart says she's lived in the same community for nearly 45 years, but recently began growing concerned about a lack of police presence in light of an uptick in crime.
What I would like to do is I would like to see more interaction with the police department. That's my thought. Like when I'm at this park, I like to feel safe. And when you don't see a police in view, you know, you feel like you're not really safe.
She tells us she's reached out to council before.
When they asked us what the issues were, that was one of our issues, was safety.
But feels her concerns might have been lost in the shuffle of requests and concerns from across the city. She says she's now a bit more hopeful that having a council member, even in her part of town, could make that communication a bit easier.
Because if they all have their own section, maybe we can address that with them, with that particular person.
And for many Columbus residents we spoke with, it was a story similar to Thelma's.
I had no idea.
Unsure of the specifics of the changes coming to council, their district, or when the change was set to begin.
We have a major trash problem in our neighborhood. It's scattered everywhere, so that's one of the main issues that we've been noticing.
But something folks could agree on, having representation in their community could help work through their concerns.
There are issues that come up, and it'd be nice to have representation for each one, I think.
Well, actually, I think what we should do is give it a chance and first see how it starts out.
You like that? You said give it a chance.
That's
and your
right.
face lit up.
Yeah,
Tell me
exactly.
about that reaction.
Well, again, people are scared to change sometimes,
Right.
and so this is something new. But we got to give this a shot. The voters said that this is what they wanted, and so we're gonna see how this works out. And again, 9 people live in 9 distinct parts of the community. You're gonna know where to go to first.
We heard from one neighbor who said, she really didn't know much about this. You all have put in a lot of work, a lot of service work to get the word out. Where do we go from here? Here we are, it's November of 2022, and people aren't aware of what's to come.
I think it's just continuing to educate. I think doing things like this and getting in front of people and say, hey, there's opportunities for you to learn about this process and learn what this means for you and for your community. I think just continuing to educate is going to be the best way to make sure that voters are prepared when it comes to the elections, both in May and in November.
Well, I know a lot of people. Oh, you were going to say something.
Well, I was just going to say it opens up the opportunity for people to run. And
Yeah.
so, there's lots more opportunities to represent the community. And so if people want to get out there to run, they can do that. And so we'll continue to do this educating campaign. But there's a lot of work ahead, as you can see from some of those residents.
And we're going to touch on that point in just a bit. All right, so we've told you all about the new districts. Now you're thinking, how do I find my district? Well, no worries. We have you covered. Ohio's capital city is on the move. 9 new council districts are on the way. I went to City Hall on a quest to help you find your district.
What do we need to do?
You need to head over to columbus.gov/districts. And then from there, you go to Columbus District Map and you go to click here. We'll type in your address.
Okay, so where do you want to start?
Let's do somewhere fun like COSI.
Okay.
Nia Walters, who you met earlier in the show, is in-house counsel for Columbus City Council. She also led the process of the Council Residential Districting Commission.
Do you remember the old COSI?
I do.
She also kept me on task.
If you look at this, it will show you exactly where you are on the map. COSI is in District 7.
Let's find another location. Where else do we want to go?
Let's look at the Linden Rec Center.
Okay.
That one is in District 4. And then you can see the makeup and the population.
Okay.
And so it's important that these populations were based off the 2020 census, so they've largely grown since this was done.
Walters tells me when it comes to the size of the districts, each is within 1% of the others. So the largest district cannot be 1% larger than the smallest. Each will be home to roughly 106,000 Columbus residents.
As you can see. Where else would you like to go?
Okay. How about let's go on over to NBC4.
Okay.
So we're at 3165 Olentangy River Road. I like to say Olentangy sometimes, just to get a reaction.
So that's in District 3. And so you can take the map and zoom in a little bit closer if you're wanting to see specific street level data.
Talk about the layers.
So there are different layers that you can place on this map that will help you kind of see different things. So one of our layers is area commissions that you can take this off and you can put our Columbus Communities map on.
Another layer,
really
Columbus City Schools.
Like I said,
Okay, so we talked about having those layers in there. Why was that important to have within the search?
I think so people can see where they are. They can see where their area commissions are for the area commissions that cover the different areas of the city. So we have 21 area commissions in the city, so it doesn't cover the entirety of the city, but you can also put on the Columbus Communities layer, and that will show you where the different communities are. So for your larger areas like Northland, who have like civic associations, you can still see where they are and where your district is made up of when it thinks about neighborhoods and what you consider to be your neighborhood.
So go back, let's talk about the breakdown of each district. They're fairly equal.
Yeah, within 1,006, there's 100,000 roughly for each district. The variance had to be within 1%. So from the largest district to the smallest districts, there's a 1,006 deviation.
One of the things I think people watching tonight will go, and you alluded to this a moment ago, is that I want to be part of this process. I want to share more. I want to run possibly and represent my community. What do they need to know about this process, those people who are interested in running?
So they would need to know that if you are interested in running for a council district seat, you have to be in your district by, honestly, May 2nd or May 1 of this year. So with the primary of the previous year, you have to be there for 1 year. You have to remain there throughout the duration of your term. And there are a couple other like smaller requirements, but the biggest one and change is that you have to be in that district and you have to be there a year prior. And then if you're running, you would submit signatures by February or roughly 90 days before the primary election, which will be taking place.
And so they must have 250 signatures?
Yes,
Correct.
250
Within the district.
Within the district.
Within their district.
So it'll be a little different than what it used to be, where you could kind of get signatures from all over the city. You would be required to get them from within the district, which makes things a little bit more different than it has been in the past, but I think definitely still very doable.
Okay, so I'm going to put you in the hot seat here.
Okay.
Why would someone want this job, whether they're running for a district or at large?
Well, certainly Columbus is a very dynamic place today. It's exciting, the robust growth that we're seeing, and of course the exciting development that's occurring within the city of Columbus. So, you know, for me, it's the opportunity to represent, and of course there are challenges that you know we face on a day-to-day basis that growth causes, gentrification, trying to avoid that, providing affordable housing for people to live where they work, and they send their kids to school. And so it's an exciting role, in my opinion, to be able to do that and to be able to be part of this growth and shaping the future of Columbus.
We asked for our viewers to submit questions. We heard from one of our viewers who got on, and we talked about this earlier, but it's that thing we need to keep hitting on. It's about the representation and people being able to vote for different districts, that is, districts where they don't reside. The question is, how is that fair representation?
Well, certainly it's 9 different individuals that are going to represent you, and so I think it's expanding the level of representation, because today there's only 7. So again, you're going to have 9 people that will advocate on your behalf. You can go and call each and every one of those offices about your particular issue and get them to move to correct the issue or to solve a problem.
Another person who's watching, they said, why wasn't the existing system left alone?
Well, I think that we wanted to create representation in every corner of the city. Currently, council members can live anywhere in the city, but it just has to be inside the city. And so this will create representation in every corner. So you will have somebody as far north as you can go, as far south as you can go, as far east and west as you can go. And I think that will create people who are kind of evenly split throughout the city. And so we get to hear different opinions from different people that we may not often hear, because it's like, what's happening in your neighborhood, but you don't have an intimate knowledge of what's happening in another neighborhood. So having someone there will allow that person to be able to respond and be like, oh, I noticed that too. Yeah, let's get that taken care of. And I think that helps.
In theory, we could all live in the same neighborhood today. Mm-hmm. And so, in the future, I know this city really well, but I definitely know where the potholes are in my neighborhood, where the street lights are out. Mm-hmm. And so I think bringing that type of intimacy to representation makes a lot of sense.
So it looks like folks are interested in running, and while we just touched on it, I want to revisit it because one of the viewers watching tonight has asked, what are the qualifications for serving as a council member?
Well, certainly getting the signatures, that's part one. But there's no requirement for college degree. There's nothing. You just have to be a resident, a registered voter within the city of Columbus, and of course, living within that district the year prior to the May 3rd primary, May 2nd, sorry. Yeah. The May 2nd primary in 2023. So you have to have established residence, in May of this year, wherever the district is that you run. But there's no other requirements other than getting that petition. Of course, being 18 years of age, and then filing the petition by the 1st of February.
Final thoughts?
I think that people should get excited about this. This offers you a different way to be represented. Mm-hmm. There is a lot to learn here, and so I encourage people to stay looking out for more educational materials from council, as we really want to make sure that voters are prepared to go to the polls both in May, and we're excited for this new system and what that means for residents and what it means for us at council, and just that expansion of the council family.
Go to columbus.gov/districts for more information. Continue to watch for updates on there, because we're going to continue to push out this information, make sure that people are aware what they're voting on this next year.
It's so important. We will continue the conversation. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight.
It's been a pleasure.
And with that, we thank you for joining us for this NBC4 Digital Special in partnership with Columbus City Council. Stick with NBC4 for continuing coverage on the rollout of the new council districts. We will have new and previous stories about the new districts on NBC4i.com/Columbus Districts. Local for you, I'm Kerry Charles, NBC4.